Here we are back again, and we're going to be talking about Lindsay Clancy. But before we begin, I want you to know that my heart is with the children. But I want to bring out some inconsistencies as far as I'm concerned. I'm not telling you who's guilty or not guilty. That's not for me to decide. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So with that, let's get started, because after today's testimony, the prosecution is in rebuttal, but I found a few things that we've now have been told. We've been led to believe by other doctors and doctors before this doctor and after, and so on and so forth. But now we're going to start. Okay, so here we're going to move the hand of fate, and I'm going to just get into it. Let's just start, because that's the way it is. Lindsay Clancy. Here we go. And it was done January 24th of 2023. Now, here's what I want to share with you is a timeline. And I want to pass through a lot of things. We're not going to be talking about the crime itself, maybe touch on it briefly. But here's what I just don't get. All right, supposedly, allegedly, now she says, she told the doctor, right, that she was in the kitchen. We're going to say this. She was in the kitchen at approximately, but she said between 5:10 and 5:15 p.m., and that's Eastern, because they're in Massachusetts. She said at that point she was fixing the dinner for the kids. I think it was green beans and chicken nuggets and all these other things. Now, evidently, she had started looking for the distance between their home. So distance, I think this is important too. The distance between their home and 3V, which was the restaurant they got the takeout from. And she found that it was approximately 6 miles. Not really very far. CVS Pharmacy is approximately 3 miles. So, not very far. So here's the thing that kind of, okay. She says it was between 5:10 and 5:15. But they're saying, it's my understanding, that Patrick left the house right around then, okay? So Patrick is gone at around the 5:15, let's just say 5:15. He's gone. He went to go do some errands. And as he was going out of the house, Lindsay said, oh, by the way, can you stop by CVS Pharmacy and get me some Miralax too? Now, here's the thing. The one doctor says that she had it backwards. Evidently, supposedly, she said that she asked Patrick, do you want to eat at 3V? And he said, yes, that's fine. But then she told the doctor that it was reverse. That she was looking up 3V and all this other stuff. Look, Doc, I've got to tell you something, pal. I don't know a wife out there who hasn't done that. Because sometimes when you really want something that bad, and she did, and this is before any of the deed happened, that you like to have your spouse think that it was his idea. Many of us have done that. Yes, many of us do that. You look it up, you have an idea, you look it up, and then, oh, it's their idea, right? Okay, now, come on. But then Patrick said that they had never gotten takeout from 3V. He said they've eaten there before. She says they've gotten takeout there. Here's the thing. Does that really matter? I don't know. I don't know. But here's the thing that I don't really know about. Evidently, Lindsay was looking this up at 4 o'clock. She was looking up the takeout. No, I'm sorry. She was looking up the Miralax from CVS at 4 o'clock because evidently little sweet Cora had a problem. Okay? And then she said, well, while you're out, can we get takeout? To me, that is not anything but a marriage thing. But who am I? I'm certainly not a doctor. But let's get back into this timeline because this right here is what has always done it for me. Patrick says that he left right around 5:15. I think this is it, 5:15 to 5:18. Now here's the clicker for me. There was an email sent from his work PC. Now he said he didn't know if it was from his phone or from his PC, but evidently it's from his PC. Now what time did that go out? That went out at 5:24 p.m. So they're saying that Lindsay started contemplating all of this at 5:15 p.m. and then Patrick leaves between 5:15 and 5:18 p.m., but he sends a mail out at 5:24. That puts him still there. Now here's the thing. The prosecution says this whole thing with her going into the basement, her doing this, her taking one of the kids down at a time, all these things. I'm not going to get into that, okay? That's too sensitive here. But that she got it all done and then ran upstairs and did what she was supposed to have done to herself, and that took between 18 and 20 minutes. I don't know about you, but think about this. Think about taking one of the children down to into Patrick's office first, getting that, and then you go back upstairs, you get another child. Now, it is said that each time it takes a few minutes. And by the way, I found some information from another expert that says that it takes 4.4 pounds of pressure to accomplish that with each child. And it takes a few minutes. So are you going to tell me that this timeline between 18 and 20 minutes fits in? Now let's forget about going to 3V and all this other stuff, but see, this is 6 miles away from home tops. So if he goes to 3V or CVS Pharmacy and picks up everything and then goes here and then back home, you don't have this is what gets me right here. 18 to 20 minutes. She must have been flat out flying. But here's some other things that I want to talk to you about. Patrick says that she crushed the pills and put them in a glass beside her. He didn't know what was in the glass. She said it was lemonade. He says he didn't know. Lindsay said that she didn't say that she crushed the pills that were on the nightstand. So Patrick also says that the bedroom door was locked. Lindsay says she doesn't remember locking the bedroom door. After you do all this, why would you worry? Why would you think about locking the door? That doesn't make too much sense. Unless this doesn't make too much sense and this doesn't make too much sense. There was another doctor today that said that the screen wasn't cut. Then there's another doctor that says the screen was cut. Dr. Resnick says that she felt like she was acting like a puppet. But then she told other doctors that she didn't remember, but that she was informed. She was told. Who told her? Patrick initially told her what she did. Now let's do this. Now let's think about this for another minute, because I know this is a horrible situation and I have a hard time even talking about it. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying there's some inconsistencies here that just don't jive with me. But Lindsay says the moment, because she called Patrick and said she needed the Miralax, was talking about that. She said the moment that she hung up the phone, she started hearing the male voice. She hadn't heard it before. The male voice pretty much said, look, you've got a short window of time. You better do this. And then you better do it to yourself. Now here, I've got to tell you something here, my darlings. And not in every case. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a profiler with tarot and that sort of thing. But I like to figure things out. But here's something that I don't know if anybody has thought about. If that voice told her what to do to the three sweeties, and then to herself, why didn't the voice tell her to do it? Something here too. That's happened. We know, we've all heard about that in other cases. Why just him? Why just her? Why just her and the kids? So let's back up a minute. Lindsay looked up the Miralax at about 4 o'clock. Then she asked Patrick, I've had a really hard day. Can we eat out tonight? Sure. Now I'm paraphrasing there. And this is where the CW is getting where this is more premeditated, because she looked up the Miralax at 4 o'clock for CVS Pharmacy. But why would she premeditate it if she didn't hear the voices until after Patrick left the house and after she hung up the phone from Patrick? How could she have premeditated it just because she looked everything up first and then she approached him and said, can we eat out? And they're saying, oh no, this is backwards. She looked up 3 and she looked up all this other stuff before asking Patrick. The doctor makes a big deal about this and says, oh, this is reversed. Oh, you must not have been married long. And if you haven't been, pal, you must have not figured it out. Let's talk to your wife if you've got one. Because sometimes I even do that with this guy. The one that you guys know and hear about all the time. You know, Lord Ian. I'll look up something and say, hey, you know what? That Krispy Kreme has a really, really good deal on these. And he'll say, well, yeah, do you want to get some? When I've already figured it out. Sorry. How many? Let me know in the comment. Have you done that? I'm the first one to admit it. If I'm the only one, then okay, my darlings. But then I had another little question here. Because remember, she had to go up and down steps. 2 flights. This goes to the basement. And then she goes up another flight of steps, right? Sorry, look at my drawing. Isn't that lovely? I think so. So this goes upstairs. So, okay. I'm being careful and being ginger here, okay? So bear with me. So the first thing that I ask, because I think about the other side of the coin, and in the DSM 5, that the DSM is what they call the Bible of psychiatric evaluations, because they look into that and they look at a book and says, okay, this fits, this fits, this fits, so she must be this. We medicate her with this, and then we do this. That's pretty much how it is. Now, I know for those of you who are in that know, it's a lot harder. But for us lay people, that's the best explanation that I can come from or come with, because that's a guideline. The DSM is a guideline, the DSM-5. But what interests me always is because there are times when people hear voices. And back, I believe, in 1995 or 1996, they added possession. They added possession to the DSM. That looks like a 5, sorry. To the DSM, and it's in section 5. And they do it because they say it is a part of religion. Now, do you think this is why these expert witnesses keep bringing up religion a lot? Because it is a mode of belief that possession they're certainly not going to mention that. But evidently, Lindsay supposedly, allegedly hearing voices, and it's a male voice, which intrigues me that much more. But supposedly, allegedly, if she hears a male voice, then it was very significant, but she doesn't know whose voice it was. Well, I gotta tell you, it doesn't take too much to alter your... Okay. All right. That's just my opinion. So, she's never heard this voice before, and she's never heard it after. It was right after the phone call with Patrick. She hung up, and this voice, this audible voice. Now, supposedly, allegedly, it was in her head. It was not an audible voice that is outside of her, like you would hear a disembodied voice, okay? That intrigues me too. How did that happen? Well, one of the things that I went down the little rabbit hole with was this. Can you hypnotize? Now, I'm just going down the rabbit. Can you hypnotize somebody that is heavily medicated like Lindsay, possibly? The answer is that's very hard. Can you manipulate with the power of suggestion when somebody is heavily medicated? Maybe. Now, the reason that is, now again, I'm not a doctor, so don't look this up. Don't take it as gospel, okay? But the reason that it is because your mind is already altered in an altered state from the medication. So adding another layer of hypnotic suggestions most likely aren't going to work. However, there is the power of suggestion When somebody is heavily medicated, there comes the power of suggestion. And you know what that's called sometimes? It can also be planting false memories. See, that's a big one. See, medication heavily impairs short-term memory and creating gaps in the victim or in the person's timelines. So, hypothetically now, anybody who wants to go in and manipulate anybody that is heavily medicated, use repetitive suggestions to fill those gaps in false narratives. Something like, you forgot you promised me that. Did you forget you promised me that? You forgot that. Or the doctor said you aren't allowed to leave. The doctor said you need to be careful. Or everyone is angry with you right now. Or you should do this to yourself, Lindsay, and to maybe some other people. See, over time, the medicated person, and again, I am not a doctor, I'm just sharing, but over time, the medicated person loses trust in their own senses and becomes entirely dependent upon the version of what the manipulator or the gaslighter is talking about. There were some little things for me, like Lindsay all of a sudden taking the power of attorney from her husband over to her mother. Was it her mother? Was she sensing something wasn't right? Even looking at her in the courtroom, you can tell during all of this, testimony, my darlings, that she's heavily medicated. And probably even more so now, even so she's breaking, even though she broke down during the autopsy photos. Why am I telling you this? Because I believe in every good forensic type investigation. You need to close all doors. These doors were not closed. Later on, Patrick brought the Apple Watch to, I believe, Mr. Reddington. It was supposed to have been there the whole time. The one thing is this, and has the prosecutor even thought about this? Those two ADAs. She has said multiple times, and even their even their witnesses say, she didn't remember what happened. She was informed. And yet, while she's laying on the ground outside of the house, and I'm going to draw a little something that I noticed during Dr. Elizabeth Lapazada's testimony. We'll use this over here. Let's just say this is the side of the house, okay? Here's the ground. Here's the ground. Lindsay is laying here. But my dear friends, her arms were down by her side. I'm pretty sure that's the way it looked. And I can tell you, if they felt they got it wrong, the CW would have stepped in, because they were already stepping in because they didn't like where one of the window wells was in the diagram. How do you fall from a window up here? How do you fall? Well, first of all, you land. She did this, okay, landed on her head and plopped this way, is what Dr. La Posada said. But how do you lay with your arms perfectly by your side? How does that happen? Did somebody move her? You see, there's a bunch of little things that just don't resonate and add up. But if she says she doesn't remember, and Patrick is the only one who said that she told him what she did, she didn't tell anybody else. She couldn't talk. She had fluid in her mouth and in her throat. She was in and out of it. So if that were the case, my darlings, and Patrick was the only one who knew, they charged her within 24 hours. Why didn't they look a little further? Or was it just convenient? We'll probably never know. Let's get some cards out. Well, here we are back again, my darlings. And I just want to say, this is so horrific for all the families, and my prayers go out for them. And I'm just so sorry to even think about this. I've got what lies beneath, which is a hidden oracle, future oracle. This is our true crime. And, of course, I have my steady cartomancy, which, you know, I could probably just do cartomancy and be okay, right? Probably could. But why? But why do we want to do that? All right, so now we're going to be checking out, and I'm just going to tap into this energy. I just want to tap into the energy of the Lindsay Clancy case. What is there, a message from this energy? What is it? What should we know? What should we know? This one came out sideways. That is a bridge. And we're going to turn these over. Okay, here we are. Oh. That's different. We've not seen these cards before. Let's turn over this bridge card. Trapped. Now I've wondered, did Lindsay at one point feel that maybe she could have done that because she just felt trapped in her own world?
Hello.
Oh, hello, there's Ian. Had to pop in to say hello, everyone. All right. Did she feel trapped where she was? He was just walking through. I think, you know, sometimes he says, Mom, do you think that you can get any more dramatic than you can? I said, maybe. I'll try. All right. This card fell down. I put it back up here, but I'm going to put it to the side because we're going to see what this is. I believe that Lindsay, early on, because evidently she started taking the medication she was on in October. But backing up a little bit, some things I believe were happening in September, and then they just started to get a little bit more, intense. Sad for everybody. But do we think, I think that it definitely could have been that. Because did she feel that she was unwanted? Did she feel that she was resented? Did she feel any of those things? It is possible It is possible. And especially if you are starting to get medicated and you're concerned over your kids, right? You don't know what happens behind closed doors. Let's see what this card is that fell off. Oh, wow. Is that really what she was thinking? You know, people have asked me to do some remote viewing, try to tap into the energy of the children. I don't know about that. I've got to tell you. I don't know. Because I certainly don't want to see anything like that. It would have to be after. Money. Well, definitely there have been some money changed hands. That hit my thumb, but putting on a show. Do you think somebody in this equation has been putting on a show? Do we think that? Total drama. I said last night, it feels like we're watching a movie, doesn't it? There was envy. I believe that. Insecure. And toxic. Falling apart, falling to pieces, doesn't want to take some things at heart. Wow, this is getting deep. This is getting deep. Let's bring out some more of these cards. Greed, celebrity, spouse, partner, and love. What do you really feel? That you feel that that's sort of kind of now? Because I'm going to tell you what. All three of these people, main characters, which is Lindsay Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Shaggy Noodle, and Rachel Dennis, who is Patrick's new wife since April, are all celebrities. Healing. But look at the healing. Look at the bed. It looks pretty ominous to me, doesn't it? It looks like it's... And of course, this goes without saying. Look at that beautiful little face. You know, I think that one of the children... Well, I'm just not going to go there. The tunnel, I think one of the children held back that energy from going to the tunnel, through the tunnel, back to our Creator. I really believe that one of them held back. And I think that you would be really surprised. Because, you know, at first I would think that it would be Cora because she was so close to Cora. But I think it was the baby. Did you see that, how that flew out? That is Patrick. Patrick is the sign of Cancer. That is a water sign. And yes, they have shadow. They have shadow personalities. Every sign in the zodiac has a shadow. And that's it right there. It would not surprise me if Patrick had a Virgo rising or someone had a Virgo. Not good cards. We need Moisha. Okay. We're going to leave this one to last, and we're going to start with this one. This is picking up on his feelings. And I don't want to say that he had a split personality. That's not what it is here. So let's not go there. But what I do believe is that there were times where he felt that he didn't know what to do. I think he really felt he wanted to get out of things. This is a card of boredom, but also delays. And it's a card of trying to work through a situation to make the situation better, but it doesn't get better. Now let's talk about this one up here. This is pregnancy. And with these cards the way they are, I think that I do believe Lindsay wanted another baby, but I also feel that he was holding his breath. I don't think that he wanted any more. And quite frankly, having issues and problems, I would be concerned about putting anyone through that again. But I have a question. If you're feeling this kind of way and you know that your spouse is suffering, if you feel that you can't trust them, because I think there was an issue there, why would you go on ski trips or sailing trips and leave the kids? It's a question. But this also can be a third-party affair, looking for security somewhere. That's confirmation from Shaggy Noodle. And then now here we are. He felt like he had to make a sacrifice. But how did he do it? Because this is a card of also domination. This is a card of a lot of things. Oh, wow. This is wild. This Six of Hearts is not only a sacrifice card, and I think he felt like he was making these sacrifices, but it's a card that basically says you feel like you have to live your life your own way. And not only that, based on everything here, you have to make your own decisions as to what you're going to do. And it would be this situation here. This card, for those of you who have never watched me before, welcome, and please do me a favor, like and subscribe. But this card is very interesting. In the fours, when I read, the fours, I think it almost feels like a card of, it's not a warning because it's sometimes the foundation of a situation. But you know, your foundation can be not so stable sometimes. But with this one, back in medieval times, when they were reading the playing cards, they would look down upon the four of clubs. Of course, the medieval cards didn't look like this, but they would look down on the medieval clubs, or medieval cards, rather, and it looks like a four-poster bed. Now, these are money. It is an earth sign for me. And this is a card of feeling like you're swindled. Feeling like you've been taken, meaning gaslighting. But this is him. feeling as though you've been duped. But how do you resolve things? This is the card of being, basically it means in bed with the devil. Now, I'm not saying that's him. I'm saying that maybe that's how he felt. Getting a room. I think he did. In a motel suite. Gone for business, obviously, to New York. Is justice really coming, and for who? I think the children need justice. Lindsay needs help. And Patrick, well, here's another 4. And this other 4 basically is saying, once again, another 4, but this is emotions here. But the emotions are basically that whatever passed now, January 24th of 2023, will be affecting the future always. They won't get over it. This is based on resentment, bitterness, and I can bet you 10 to 1, the moment this happened that evening on January 25th of 2023, he started making arrangements if he hadn't started making them earlier. Do I believe that Lindsay sensed something within the marriage? Yes. Do I believe that Patrick was reacting to all of this? Yes, I do. And do I believe if one of the children, maybe the older children, would have survived, they would have told us a lot more than what we'll ever know. Thanks for watching, everyone. Say a prayer for that family. I'll see you soon.